Alrighty, welcome back to our second game of the day here. No org, man, they were looking good for the first 20 minutes, and then they were looking quite the opposite of that up until the very final moments of the game when they pull off the reverse card. They end up taking down Solafide after what looked like a game that was pretty done and dusted, LS. Solafide, I thought they had him on the ropes.
Yeah, I was really looking like Solafide were just going to win that game. And I mean, if Apollo doesn't get sniped at the very end there, they probably actually do win that game. That snipe was, I mean, it's exactly what they needed in order to keep themselves in it. And so, No Org, they started out so strong, such an advantage, so many things going right for them. And then slowly but surely, in mid and late game transition, No Org kept falling slightly behind, and Solafide crawling back little by little, but then blundering right at the end in almost CLG-esque fashion.
Oh no, we can't do them that dirty here at the end of game number 1. We got to at least wait till like game 2 or 3 to bring out the CLG metaphors, right? Okay.
You know what? All right.
Well, so let me ask you this then, as we're about to start the draft here for the second time. What is the number one change that you would like to see here in game number 2 out of each one of these teams?
So I feel like from watching that game, No Org, despite how many different team fights did they end up taking, they never actually once figured it out and readjusted how they were going to approach the team fights. The one team fight they ended up playing really, really, really well was the one Solafide actually got impatient and rewarded No Org's comp for doing what it's actually supposed to do best, which is to kite backwards and just let Jace poke. But if that's going to be the case, then No Org just needs a team composition that is wholly synergistic with one another and just runs into the opponent almost regardless. Because I think that if the ask is for them to intelligently dance a fight, it doesn't seem like they have an awareness of it inside of the game to do that. So I'm a little bit worried for them here in game number 2.
Well, going into this second game, we will see the teams on the same sides as previously. No Org back on the blue, Solafide back on the red. Bans are largely similar, but somewhat different. Orianna, Azir, Twisted Fate, all still banned out of the mid lane there. Gragas still banned away too, but Udyr is banned out this time. Solafide do not want to deal with Onda's Udyr again, as Set will also be banned away. Seraphine, again, the first pick here for No Org.
Yeah, and I am a little bit worried. Do we just see the Senna R1, R2 Olaf yet again, and they think, okay, the problem was Udyr. Problem was not Udyr that game by any means. Now, the one thing, though, is that if you opt into Lilia here, things can get a little bit interesting, because if you have Seraphine mid, you have Lilia jungle, then the enemy control mage can just get Verdant Barrier, and then it's extremely oppressive. And so, looks like No Org recognizing that, hey, while Lilia might be able to... No. Flowers? We almost had a Nidalee getting locked in here. Okay. We're not going to do that AP AD, or we're not going to do the AP mix. We're actually going to have the Graves inside of the jungle. So, we're going to sacrifice some of the clear speed power in order to have a much greater upside.
Okay. So we don't have to deal with the Verdant Barrier stacking, just making the entirety of ganks not even a threat any longer. But aside from that jungle there, with the Udyr being banned away, it looks like we're going to see No Org go for the other 2 out of 3 picks, with the Seraphine and the Alistar being the same here in the first half of the draft. They were happy with what Big and Fire were able to get done on those picks here in game number 1. And hey, if we're talking about game number 1 success, Tuesday had a huge performance in those later game team fights for Solafide, so I'm not too surprised to seeing him pick the Victor for him here yet again.
Victor is locked in, and so for the most part, a lot of things are similar right now. No Org, though, it is a bit more difficult actually on them to play, because Graves, really hard time playing into Senna, really hard time playing into Victor, unless he's really far ahead. And obviously you add another range champion to the mix, you're required to dance a lot better. So let's see how the remainder of the draft ends up being sculpted. Jace got banned away preemptively by Solafide.
They are remembering the snipe that won the game. They are taking this champion out of the selection process. The Scion will be banned away here yet again. They're saying you're not allowed to have that with a fasting Senna. The Kaisa ban. Value is no longer allowed to play this. I like this. Value is so good on that champion. He's always popping off. We saw him go for the assassination of the Tuesday underneath the tier 3 turret as well. He knows the limits of it so well. So taking that away from him, I think, is a good pick here from the side of Solafide. Now, how will No Org adapt? Okay, so they're saying both of our second phase bans are going to be Senna's fasting buddies. So what do you put with Senna now?
Well, I mean, Senna still has a pretty wide range of options. Obviously, Set, Tom, and Scion are banned away. You still have stuff like Maokai that you can end up doing. And, okay, well, it looks like that is going to be the hover right now, and it's going to be the
Your
lock-in,
brain's too
so,
big,
you know.
man. Your brain's too big. You don't even get to finish the sentence before it's locked in. Okay, Maokai down there with Senna.
Yeah, and this is going to mean that Solafide, they don't have as much protection, but with the Maokai ultimate, things can get even uglier, actually, if Noah just try to roll right into them headfirst.
Okay, what do we got, Value? Let's see what you guys are going for here. Yone locked in. Okay. So wait, maybe it's Seraphine, Alistar bottom, and Yone's mid.
Yeah. I think that is actually what is going to end up happening. So we're going to have Yone in mid lane, and now with Yone and Graves, Victor might actually stunt his build to get a Seekers sort of early on inside of the game, and that can be problematic for his mid-game wake-up. But, ooh, Karma is going to come in blind, and this is really good. So 2 Moonstone Renewers going to be here inside of this game.
Double Moonstone. I was like, man, this guy is excited for some Karma here today. It's because of the Moonstone. Double Moonstone with Graves and Yone to be the big damage sources over here for no org. And the response from Solafide is the Gnar locked in against the Karma. You do not seem so enthusiastic about this choice, my friend.
Yeah, I'm not really happy about the Gnar because the thing is that the burst damage on the side of Solafide, it is somewhat there, but I think it's really impractical that they're going to be able to land it on any of the targets on no org because they're all ranged. They know what's coming. I mean, Alistar has the CC break, right? Graves is going to be reasonably tanky. But the thing about this is that in sustained long team fights, you're not beating Seraphine's W and Karma's Mantra D. It's just not happening with these damage dealers on the Victor and Senna because the game is going to take too long. And so the double Moonstone Renewer active inside of the team fights, as well as now you have access to Ardent Sensor. I mean, Staff of Flowing Water loses potency inside of this game, but Chemtech Putrefier is still going to be really good as an item for both of these two champions. Redemption, Mikhail's Crucible, these things are able to be picked up on Seraphine and Karma as well. And maybe Seraphine actually goes Leandri's, but I don't want to see that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next, is I know, like, we've had these conversations about Moonstone is not always the best option. It's very powerful in a lot of situations, but there's sometimes where it's not built. How disappointed will you be to see either of these champions opt for a different mythic, most likely an offensive-styled one, as opposed to a Moonstone this time around?
Well, I mean, I'm going to need another color next cast. I mean, we've dealt with this in the LCK, you know? I've walked off before, I swear. Like,
we're just going to... We're going to go to the desk afterwards. You'll be on the desk because you refuse to cast anymore. Break down why this choice to not go for Moonstone was awful.
We just totally tear into it. Like, oh, man.
Well, hopefully we don't have to go there. Hopefully we can see the itemization lend itself to the correct choices. We are loading into the game. I have been notified of no pauses thus far here for our second game, so hopefully we'll get off the ground and get going here very quickly into our second game. What do you expect to see out of the junglers here in terms of the focus, where they're going to be early on? Because you already mentioned how Graves has a more difficult time playing into champions like the Victor, like the Senna, compared to something like Udyr. So what do you want to see Onda's pathing and Onda's decision-making in particular look like to circumvent that and make sure he's successful?
I mean, he could start on blue here as Graves and then path down, because the only real lane where anyone from Solafide can find a kill is down in bottom. You have the Twisted Advance on the Maokai, you try to get him onto someone with Senna, you land the snare, Olaf comes in. That would most likely be the only lane where any sort of early kills could transpire. And so Graves could acknowledge that and mirror it, because realistically, Graves can't gank any of these lanes. It's totally impossible unless the enemy is super blundering.
Well, here we go. Out onto Summoner's Rift for the second time today. No org leading Solafide 1-0. Remember that despite the fact that almost the rest of this event entirely was best of threes, the losers bracket final, yesterday was best of 5. This is best of 5 as well. So no org, still going to have to win a couple more. Plenty of opportunities for Solafide to come back. Value, okay. So talk to me a little bit about this, because you mentioned Airy and some calculator issues with this rune choice. in the last game when you were describing the Guardian to me. So how do we feel about Value running the Aerie on bot lane Seraphine here?
So I feel like the Aerie, I mean, it's being picked because you have the ability to sometimes shield teammates, right, with the Aerie active, and then you can also deal damage, right? But the thing is that when you're trying to do both, it just doesn't feel that good if you end up looking at it after the fact. You know, when you hover the rune and whatnot, generally doesn't look that good. Against this team composition, if you wanted access to the Sork tree for all 4 of the points, I think this would be a pretty good argument for Phase Rush. But given what we talked about earlier, the all-in engage that they have on Gnar and, you know, the Maokai, flash twisting events, etc., Guardian would make even more sense here, as well as bone plating, I guess, you could end up going for, even though the bone plating wouldn't have a ton of value in the laning phase. So the Aerie strikes me as definitely very bizarre.
Well, but up here in the top side, Viper will be running the same thing on the Karma to try to give himself as much advantage against this Gnar as he can. Doppler running the fleet footwork to keep the HP topped off. Onda will not be starting at his blue. He's pathing from red towards the top side here. Winston starting at his own red. He'll be pathing down towards the bottom half of the map. Now, taking a look at what that could potentially mean here, if Winston goes into the bottom lane, hopefully he won't have a situation like we saw last time where there's just not anything for him to do, because that's what led Onda to being able to build up those early leads so consistently in our previous match.
Yeah, and Winston, I mean, he's going to path down to bottom. Now, maybe one of the reasons for Onda not to start blue side and then path down is because the way that the early lane is going to look for Victor, as well as for Maokai and Senna, maybe Onda just thinks, okay, I'm just going to lose bottom crab and I can maybe get double crabbed here, right? Depending on how his laners are actually playing, and that could be scary. So he's taking the safest possible route. It's not the end of the world. We mentioned earlier on that realistically the only lane that can get a gank or have one be successful for Solafide would be bot lane, but given that the bot lane's proximity to the turret is as close as it is, I think it's highly unlikely that something like that is going to end up actually happening. Winston almost done with his full clear. Graves went for the 5-clear camp so that he can arrive at the Scuttle Crab on time. He can take it, and then from there, everything is going to be pretty fine.
Yeah, looks like nobody's going to get into any Scuttle Crab fights anytime soon here. Onda still at full HP as Graves. It is so easy for him to do, not even having to chug the potions. Kiting around the camps is a hell of a drug, and Winston will clear out that remaining Gromp, get the HP. Neither one of these guys in a bad spot. You can see opposite lanes shoved in. Blue side jungler is on the top side where the enemy laner is stuck underneath the turret. Red side jungler singing the same song as Tuesday. Has an advantage over 5Fire here in the mid lane, trying to punish the Yone melee champion nice and early here with the Victor, keeping him zoned away a little bit, building up those minion leads. But down here on the bottom side, the Maokai choice. What do you want to see particularly out of this Maokai? I know sometimes we see AP Maokai builds in support. Sometimes you see the tank Maokai support. Which one do you want to see this time around?
I would probably prefer to see the AP Maokai come out, but I'm not sure if I'll end up going for it. Obviously, the AP ratio, I believe, on Maokai was hit not too long ago in a certain patch on the sapling toss, right? It went from 100 to 80%, I do believe. But the mixed damage of the team composition at that point would be a lot better. However, I'm mostly saying that because I guess Oblivion Orb would have quite a bit of value. He could just go into the Bramble Vest and then go for the tank Maokai and try to be the primary engage source. But I really think that along with Gnar, it's super important that you kill someone on no org really early on into the team fight, because otherwise I think you're never winning the fight.
Well, 5Fire has regained control over the mid lane here. He'll keep that one pushing up. Both junglers have reset, gone back for their first purchase. Winston just going straight for the pickaxe here, whereas Onda has elected to go for longsword plus boots. Remember, he had a little bit less money to work with because he did go for the 5 camps instead of the 6, but that just means that he will have a little bit of extra mobility in case he runs into that Olaf here in the jungle. Winston also running the blue smite, whereas Onda has the red for a little bit of extra combat power in that 1 versus 1. But they're honestly just so far away from each other at all points so far in this game. Their pathing, their farming has just led them to not be in the same spot. Now, Winston will make his way down here towards the bottom lane. We'll see if maybe his allies can tempt their opponents into a 2v2 that is actually not quite that. Winston coming around from the side. Zazel going in immediately for the initiation. Value is your target. Winston approaching from the side. Headbutted right back into the turret, but Value will be locked down here with a little bit of extra CC. Apollo's got to be careful. Big and Value doing a great job fighting this off. A man down.
Yeah, and Big and Value managed to live right there. And Winston just ended up wasting quite a bit of time down in the bot lane, and he's done this now 2 games in a row. He's opted in for relatively high variance ganks, and because the enemy just plays it really well, nothing ends up happening, and it looks like now Onda, he's going to help Fire shove out in the mid lane so that he's going to be able to, I assume, go for a reset, or they want to maybe start the dragon. I don't know otherwise why he would end up doing what he did. Gonna find each other inside of the jungle. Here we go.
Down bottom side, it's Apollo in a bad spot. No org again, looking for the damage here. Not quite enough for the double cast Q from Seraphine to grab the kill, but Winston shows up, has to flash over the wall to get to safety. No org. Liking how this bottom lane is looking here nice and early.
Yep, I mean, Norg, they find an advantage again down in bottom lane, and one of the things that I guess I didn't talk about super early on is that the gold cost for all of Norg's champions, they require less gold to have power comparatively to Solafide. Karma and Seraphine, all of their items are 2,500, 2,300 gold. That is really abusive when you consider that champions like Gnar, champions like Senna, they're buying much more expensive items, and this is going to really help stifle the power of Solafide in the early game teamfights, and it should help convert to a very early soul threat here, especially with them picking up first dragon of the game, which I thought was not going to be possible relative to the lane setups.
So moving forward, you're going to want to see No Org utilize those early power spikes, those moonstones that only cost 2,500 gold, and make sure they're securing these drakes. It will be a pretty big mistake to let Solafide have the opportunity to take something like that from a power trough.
Yeah, I think entirely. I mean, that should be what they're going for. Now, we see an Oblivion Orb picked up actually on value, and I'm curious if he'll actually just go Chemtech Putrefier as first item and then pick up Moonstone Renewer. That would be a pretty interesting 5-head move here, because AoE Grievous Wound super early on to the game at 60% on all your teammates, it is pretty broken, and then you already have Karma there to help amplify everyone else with the Moonstone and the heals. I mean, Seraphine healing and shielding herself as well, and so that's pretty good.
Very, very strong stuff in the Chemtech Putrefier. It's an item that I see built so rarely. I actually had to look it up to see the gold efficiency. But yeah, 2,300 gold item with 92% base efficiency, not including any of the Grievous Wounds value at all, up against a team with Olaf and Senna and Maokai. There's a ton of potential there for an early rush on that to really catch them off guard. Especially if you're playing an Olaf and you're not used to having to deal with the 60% version of Grievous Wounds that early. You run into a team fight, all of a sudden you're dead with no recovery. It really has that big surprise factor. And speaking of the surprise factor, Zazel's going in for the flash engage here with the CC and the first blood on Seraphine. Nicely done from Solafide.
Yeah, and that's a really important kill to end up getting, because you need to try to set the Seraphine behind. She's a really core part of this team composition along with the Karma. And now they're going to pick themselves up yet another play. Onda on the left-hand side of the map right now. He's going to respond with Herald. Let's just take a look at this. You have to wonder what Value's doing right now. It's like he's looking for some sort of like a cheesy E, but even if you go for a cheesy E there, you deal damage. Senna's just going to heal it up. So it doesn't make any sense why you're even in a position like that to look for the poke. And Solafide, I mean, they just completely punish it.
Solafide with a 1,500 gold lead now. Onda, of course, picking up the Rift Herald here on the other side of the map. Might have an opportunity to shore up some of that gold deficit here with that. Tuesday's got the blue buff here now, ready to go, shoving out the waves here in mid lane. Fire already with the Berserker's Greaves on the Yone, so feeling pretty confident about being able to step away from those lasers and whatnot. But down here in the bottom lane, man, things are going all right for Solafide now after the first couple of ganks not working out so well for him. That kill into Seraphine feels great for slowing her down and keeping her away from those easily approachable item power spikes that you were mentioning. Vandal Glass Mirror, Oblivion Orb, both of those ready to go. But Onda prowling around. What can he find here in the enemy jungle? Does he really want to invest into this, or just a little bit of vision? Feels like he doesn't want to go any deeper. Instead, looking for a play.
Yeah, they're going to look for Fate Sealed, and okay, they're going to get the flash.
Nicely done. You'll take the flash, right? I mean, you're just going to have to come back later. Make sure you show up again here in this mid lane before that 5-minute timer expires. Tuesday, using the summoner spell to escape there feels all right. Stacking up that tier right now. Also has the Seeker's Arm Guard. You mentioned this back in the draft. He stops off for this. Yes, it stunts his build a little bit early on, but it makes it so much easier to survive against a Yone Graves combo.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to survive pretty much all of the gank power. I mean, Tuesday did still have to blow his flash. He's not going to have it for Cloud Dragon. And what I meant mostly about like why Seekers is so problematic is because now Victor, even at third dragon, he's not going to have any value. He's going to be really, really gimped at this dragon. And so a lot of the threat needs to come from Olaf. It needs to come from the Senna, and Gnar needs to find a mega engage in order to find some sort of value here. Anda, he's still sitting on the Herald, and I personally, I would actually like to see him utilize it in bot or top lane just to further accelerate those really, really cheap item champions like Karma and Seraphine into their core items.
Well, back here in mid lane, they're going to continue trying to defend on the side of Solafide. The Drake is up in 35 seconds. We got 1,000 gold separating the teams here as we're approaching that mark. Summoner spells are largely ready to go across the board here. No flash still for Tuesday. No flash for Zazel. On the other side, it's Value's heal that's not available here just yet. Dokla finds himself getting collapsed on in a 1v2 up here. The damage coming in from Graves is way too much. And Anda picks up the first kill of the game here for no org.
Yeah, Dokla, I mean, he ends up dying. Now, Graves, he is on the other side of the map, but like I mentioned, it's only a Cloud Dragon, so it's not the end of the world if you end up losing this. Mountain and Infernal. Oh, hold on.
Okay, big moves if they're able to grab Tuesday here. Senna ulti coming through, looking to protect their mid laner. Big is taken down to 25%. Five Fire sticking around, seeing if maybe there's anything else to be done, but he has to use Q3 to make distance now as Winston goes forward. There's the ulti to get him away. Winston underneath the enemy turret, grabbing the kill on the enemy support now. And Five Fire, he tries to get the last little bit of damage, but not quite enough. 150 away, so a good pick in the mid lane, killing the enemy support here for Solafide, but up in the top side, it's no org that uses the Rift Herald properly to secure the first turret in its entirety and get themselves a gold lead.
Yeah, and now he's just going to pillage the entire red side jungle of Winston. And Winston, after this dragon, I don't think he's going to be as fortunate to just be able to prance into the enemy jungle. He's probably just going to go back and do his own jungle. And so this is a pretty big win on the left side, but obviously Big going down. You can understand the intent here. The thing that's a little bit weird is that Five Fire doesn't have Fate sealed as soon as this whole thing starts off. He manages to get it, actually, right as Olaf picks up that second axe. Winston not able to just step in front of him. Had he would have definitely gotten the flash out of Five Fire as well before turning and picking up the Alistar. So, in the end, it ends up being a trade on both sides of the map, but not bad for really either team. I would say that, obviously, Anda made out a lot more than Winston. And Anda, first to hit 9, so the 35% bonus EXP now in the jungle's locked in for him. We'll see how far away Winston is, but without any camps to return to, this is bad news bears.
And we got the Gale Force fully completed for Anda as well, so some extra playmaking opportunity, outplay potential there with that item. We know how incredibly powerful it is on marksmen of all shapes and sizes. Olaf got the Stride Breaker ready to go here once more. Five Fire must be careful. Yes, Yone is powerful. Yes, he was designed in Season 10, but Olaf is a monster in his own right, and he's already got the 2 kills under his belt. Gold score still just so even, man. So even. 200 gold apart between the squads here at 14 minutes into the game as the plating finally falls. Winston, again, putting so much time hovering around this mid lane, keeping Tuesday in a good enough spot to keep on fighting. Five Fire resetting his location here as multiple players from both teams converge on the mid lane.
Yeah, and the thing is that Winston, he's the champion that can tear through, get access to the Karma and the Seraphine reliably via that Ragnarok. He's the one that has all the kills right now with that Stride Breaker. He's going to be really important. At this Mountain Dragon fight, though, you already see how close Karma is to the next item. Now, I'm not sure what it's going to actually be. Will it be the Staff of Flowing Water? Graves has, what, an AP ratio on his W, I guess, right? But outside of that, all that they're gaining is movement speed. And Karma's amplifying Seraphine and Alistar on her own. So we'll see. I would really like to see that be an Ardent Sensor above everything else for the Graves and the Yone. And then even Seraphine makes use of it herself a little bit. Definitely not the worst, but I don't think Staff of Flowing Water is necessarily the go-to here.
Well, Dokla's trying to steal away the enemy blue buff, just get whatever kind of resources he can. When the game is this close, you take any little advantage you can find here. Dokla will get that one and get on back out. Now, he does have his Olaf nearby if his opponents try to collapse on him here, but he's not too afraid of approaching Viper in the 1-for-1, as he's already using the Stride Breaker to keep on going, keep on marching forward, finding more damage here in the trade. Both junglers have arrived. Onda moving in there. Yes, his opponent has the Gnar bar, but Onda appears unafraid. Winston trying to step in front of him, block the auto attacks. Dokla's down to 200 HP. Over the wall comes the Fade Sealed. It's 5-fire, baby, and you are burning up. Winston's running away, trying to find a return kill onto Viper. A little bit more damage, gets it done. There comes the Thunder, but it's a 1-for-2, and it's No Org taking the fight.
No Org, they get insane value inside of that team fight as well because they get the shutdown onto Olaf, and that is absolutely massive for them. And now, with a minute and a half remaining, I mean, we see how this one all transpires. Karma, obviously pretty obnoxious to try to bring down with her W and her E. Dokla ends up having the Mega available. Onda actually goes in, Gale Forces right away. And then with the smoke screen, Dokla trying to run away. He tries to push him back, but obviously Karma there with the Mantra. The Fate Sealed comes in as well. And then with the E repeat damage on Yone, it wasn't long for Gnar, even if they ended up living until that Tethered Spirit would end up going away. But really, really, really big for No Org right now. And this Dragon coming up in a minute, it is the Staff of Flowing Water. So looks like a little bit of Boris, I think. I don't think this is necessarily the best.
Okay, so Game 2 is our first Boris sighting of the day. We will keep track of how those continue throughout the course of this event, but we're going to call Boris here on Staff of Flowing Water. Do we want to see the Censor next, then? Is that the plan?
Yeah, I feel like Censor should have came in really early, or Karma should have just been the one to go for the Chemtech Putrefier, but maybe it's just going to be Seraphine going for that now. And again, I say this because Graves and Yone, yes, they benefit a lot from movement speed. Movement speed is an insane stat. Yes, Seraphine and Alistar benefit from the AP ratio amplifier, and Karma herself as well. I mean, right? It makes her RE shields even stronger at that point. So things like that are definitely considered. You can't really scoff at movement speed, but you are missing a lot of value from the item itself, and I think that Ardent Censor would have just provided way more in this particular instance.
We got 2 seconds until the next Drake spawns, and we're probably getting a team fight on even ground between the squads. So we'll see if that ends up costing them a whole lot here. Zazel losing a very minor amount of HP as a TP is channeled to bring Viper in to help the rest of his squad. They know they're going to need everybody here at the same time. This is the chance for these Moonstones to shine. This is the opportunity for the cheap support items to find success. Hopefully more than Shelly did. Wow, she walked into the club and immediately got thrown right back out on the sidewalk. That was a horrible circumstance for old Shelly here. As No Org's trying to disengage. They're split up with the Maokai ultimate coming through. Big tanks one of the Maokai ulti roots. Everybody else is behind him. They don't get a lot of value out of that despite how good it looked. Now No Org has regrouped on the other side. Yone is still back over the wall. He can join up with them with the Soul Unbound, but remember, he'll only be able to be part of that then for a couple of seconds. So they must get results if he decides to use that E to go over the wall. Now No Org still keeping it aggroed.
I mean, it's a really scary fight, right? They're posturing, and the whole thing is that Norg needs to do what they did not do in Game 1. They need to just be patient and try to let the Moonstones carry them through the team fight.
They're just backing away right now. They're not even close enough to try to contest the damn thing. It's already secured by the Olaf. No Org opted to play too far back. Their opponents take the objective. They disengage. Dokla's running away off to the side. That might be the only person they're able to go on, but now Big's in a bad spot. Remember, he already used the ulti earlier on the Maokai. Now they're still looking to fight even longer. Winston's having to run away. No Org turning it right back around. Big charges in for the headbutt pulverized, but it does not find anything. So at least for No Org, yes, they grabbed the enemy top laner, but they still lost the Drake.
Yeah, they lost the Dragon, and that's the one that's actually really crucial in this game. And so it's a little bit unfortunate. 5-Fire trying to go in.
It's unfortunate, but it ain't over yet. 5-Fire starting this off, but a nice use of the stasis is going to make sure he doesn't get any real value out of that. Maokai ulti ready to go here once again. Onda wanting to run away, but he's already in the clutches of Maokai's ult. A little bit more damage will not be enough. The shields, the heals, the Moonstone Renewers are enough to keep the man alive, and he walks away.
You know, and 5-Fire just trying to get a little bit more damage tagged off onto the enemies, and this is not ending.
This fight never ends. Every single time I'm trying to pass it back to you to say some intelligent stuff after I get done talking fast, but they're going right back in underneath the Prix yet again. Winston's gonna fall over. Everybody else gonna be dropping now. What in the world are you guys doing? Solafide, no! They decided to try to commit for a little bit extra, but greed is a deadly, deadly sin, and y'all gonna be taking to church for that one. Holy cow, no org with a 5v1 on the map, and they're going for Baron at 20 minutes.
And they're all full HP again, so it's not even like Victor can do anything. They get baited into the Moonstone right there, was able to keep everyone alive as well as the shields and the heals. And so what looked like it was just going to be a pretty quick pickoff, the game has completely turned around. Norg now going to be more than comfortable in the driver's seat here. Let's take a look at this one more time. I'm sorry, I said Graves, but it was actually the Yone. Just take a look at what happens here. The shield and heal from Seraphine, able to keep Yone in such a healthy position. And then the heals are constant. They're just throwing ruby stones everywhere right now inside of this game, and there's just nothing that Solafide could do. And honestly, that was a mega throw that I'm not sure if they can come back from.
Holy moly, man. The game's so close for so long, but Solafide demanding that fight had to keep going until somebody fell over, and then it was all of their guys that end up hitting the ground. Now No Org is feeling great about their current spot in the game. 3,000 gold lead. Yes, you might be down a Drake, but man, I'm going to be just straight up with you. I'll trade a tier 1 Drake for a Baron any day of the week. No problem with that. I will take that deal. Damn fine deal. And now No Org, we'll see what they can get with it. They've only got one turbot already taken. There is a ton of standing gold to be collected here by this team over the course of the next 2 minutes with this Baron buff. They'll easily take this tier 1 here in the mid lane. Couple of auto attacks will do that. Up there in the top side, you can see that turret is already mostly destroyed as well. Big's going in here for the damage. Zazel's already down. Onto with a disengage with the ulti here to keep safe. Just methodical as they push forward.
Yeah, and I mean, we see the itemization. It's all coming out. Looks like Cosmic Drive going to be the next item for Viper here on this Karma. And so a lot of movement speed whenever that Rapids passive is up, plus the Cosmic Drive. A lot of ability haste going to be coming in as well. And we see Seraphine. Chemtech Putrefier is there. Everyone has Grievous Wounds right now inside of this game. And this is really scary for Solafide to try to resist, because the items are just so cheap for everyone. So much effectiveness. They're going to try to fight here, though.
Big might be taken very low. Dokla with a massive ulti, and the follow-up is just as big. Tuesday's got the damage, and everybody on No Org is getting run down. Triple kill for the Olaf, with Big grabbing one in return. But it's already 4 dead on the side of No Org. Make it a complete full-on ace. Solafide holds the line.
Well, everyone's playing baseball here as Solafide knock one back out of the park. Noah going with a really quick pitch down mid lane, the way that Solafide did just a moment ago. No idea what Big was doing right there. You had Yone escorting the bot wave in, no clue why Fire was dragged over, and Solafide basically telling them to check themselves. Triple kill on Olaf. I would say probably the most important champion in their team comp because of his ability to reach the primary carries reliably inside of this game. So really, really big kills. Shut down even on the funneled Maokai this game. 10 seconds until that mountain. This one is so important.
Holy moly, what a game we got here. First, it was Solafide with the throw, then it's Solafide with the comeback, and now we got the Drake live yet again. If Solafide gets that, they're on the soul point, but No Org's the ones who's got bodies here sooner. Tuesday, going down there into the bottom lane with a TP, ready to join up here with the rest of the boys. Dokla's got the Gnar bar all the way up. He's ready to use the ulti if he gets the chance. It was his initiation that got them that big win in the last fight, slamming 3 into the wall so Tuesday could follow it up. Now he is running out of the rage here now. Tries to go after their opponent. Yes, they've got Viper caught out here. A little bit more damage. Might be able to take him down. They want to keep on going. But now it's Winston who's way too low. Damage over the wall. Nice shutdown on the enemy jungler. Fire wants to get away, and he does do so. They're on the chase. They're looking to take him out with the shields, the heals. The Moonstones keep him alive. And Anda grabs another kill here in the fight. It is 2-0. If y'all ever wanted to wonder why these support items are so damn powerful in mid-game team fights, press replay. Holy cow, No Org grabbing a fight.
The heals and the shields keeping him alive inside of the fight. And I mean, that that's why you need to buy Moonstone. Lunarstone Salesman here to, let you know that you can get it as well for 2,500 gold in the shop.
Man. Do your shilling. That team fight just justified all of it.
Well, they tried to get the pick off onto Viper. He was just able to live. We're going to see it in the replay probably in just a second here. No Org needs to not do another one of those pitches that they just did. Let's take a look at this one more time. So, Gnar goes over the wall, finds the pin still onto Viper, chainsaw the CC about as good as you possibly could. The E-Shield, the heal, Seraphine eventually reaches Karma as well. And at that point, everyone's just getting in on the action. It looks like, again, Yone was gonna die. You can see Dokle flashes in. Just look at the green little ticks going onto Yone constantly throughout the team fight and on everyone. He ends this with almost back to full HP.
Oh, man. I don't even know what to make of this game, man. Every time we start building up yes, that last play was great for that last team. Then it just swaps right back here again. So, okay, we pulled the car over. We stopped. We hopped out. We traded seats again. It's no Org back behind the wheel. But Solafide is still just wanting to go. They want to have the opportunity to come right back. The game is still close in terms of the gold. It is 3,000 apart. Red buff will be picked up there. They'll give that one over to Tuesday. Ended up getting it instead of Apollo. A little bit unlucky, but hey, whatever. They just wanted to stop Graves from getting it.
Yeah, and we got another Boris the Shopkeeper moment here. We have Mortal Reminder on Graves, even though Seraphine is giving everyone grievous wounds via the Chemtech Putrefier, and so that's a wasted item, and that's actually big news for Solafide, because it means that Onda's not getting as much bang for his buck on that item. That one's a little bit surprising. As the game moves on, another thing here, another Staff of Flowing Water picked up by Seraphine, and there's a limited amount of rapids that you can actually have going out to everyone inside of the fight, so there's no redemption here, no Ardent Sensor, and you can't help but think that that is definitely a bit of a blunder.
So you're happy to see the support itemization from both the bot lane carry and the top laner. The difference is we wanted to see a greater diversity of itemization in the support category. We needed one of everything instead of doubling up on a couple of big ticket popular items. Makes sense. You got to just try to get every possible tool here in the tool belt. It does give their opponents that opening like you're talking about, though. It makes that 3,000 gold feel a little bit shorter in terms of what it means and how far ahead their opponents are. But Solafide now have to answer the fact that the Baron has no vision on it. It is just now being started up by no Org. And one of the nice parts about running two of your carries as supports means you're not taking the Baron down that fast, so Solafide at least knows that. They can try to contest this. Baron's still at half, 6k now. Dokle is positioned here in the bottom lane. He can join up with a teleport, and it looks like they're using the TP now. They're deciding they want to fight for this. Baron's down to 4k. They're going to disengage. Maokai ulti coming over the wall. Baron is already reset. So no Org. Stick on the Baron long enough. They demand the teleport response from Dokle, and they get it.
Yeah. They end up getting that teleport out of Solafide. They turn back around. They get some of the items inside of their jungle. The thing is that Solafide, they're actually going to be in a better position for this third dragon than they probably should have, and mostly attributed to the redundancy that is present on some of No Org's items. And I think that that is a really big deal because that's a stat that the gold at the top doesn't show us. Here we go.
Okay, Yone's already going in. Five Fire started it off, and the swords cut down the trees, man. Zazel is out of there, and with the enemy support taken out of the picture, they're going to keep on looking for more. Winston has to run away. Onda going in there. He had 2 charges on the smite. You can see how fast it's cooling down, so he's not worried about using the red smite there just to make sure they chase Winston away, get whatever they can out of this fight. Big has the flash ready to go. He has the ulti ready to go. If anybody presents this Alistar with an opportunity, he will initiate something here in a 5v4. Five Fire continuing to use the powerful move speed of the Soul Unbound, chasing after these guys. Now resetting his position to rejoin with the rest of the squad. Yes, that pick came through, but honestly, at the end of the day, it was just 300 gold. Or not.
Yeah. And
God bless it, now I'm a liar already. Nope, nope. Senalti, nope, okay. He gets off the ball. Five Fire was taken very low, but the Moonstone's once again doing what the Moonstone does. Five Fire back to 95% HP, coming right back over the wall. Q3 finding the mark. Tuesday gonna be CC'd. Chain CC coming out with the stasis, keeping him alive. Dokle's got the Narbar ready to go, but Big has gone in. He found the enemy mid laner, and now the follow-up should ring true. Zazel's gonna be your next target here with Five Fire deep behind enemy lines yet again, going forward with the items, giving him the power. Value sings a hell of a lot of notes, baby. Party in the USA from Miley Cyrus in the bottom lane. 4 dead on the enemy team, and no Org is on the victory march.
They are tanking the turret right now just with heals and shields. and they're gonna actually raise it, and they might be threatening the game here. Everyone's turning into Clefable this game. I have no idea what Solafide is supposed to do in this particular instance. No one had Grievous wounds outside of Senna, and I guess there's the Bramble Vest on Maokai, but that's not effective.
Senna has Serpent's Fang and she has Grievous wounds, but it wasn't enough. They're marching on the Nexus, they're padding the stats a little bit. Give me another kill on the support is what they're saying. But look at that, no org. 30 minutes in, they take the win. They're up 2-0 against Solafide.
Solafide I mean, that game, they got purified. That game was definitely a bit of a purification. They're looking like Gengar right now. Clefable showing up big, obviously, inside of this fight. But I mean, we saw it, what was happening inside of the team fights. They could never get in a leg. If they don't kill either Karma or Seraphine, or, you know, Graves or Yone, the very start of the fight, instantly, the shields and heals will just start ramping endlessly. There's no slowing down. So they have one shot, one opportunity to win the fight. They could never really get close enough. I mean, they did a few times, but it was never enough to get the nail through the coffin.
I feel like you can't keep giving Seraphine to no org, man. This champion is so broken in the current state of the game, especially when they're building the Moonstone on it like that. As soon as Fire dropped down to about 75 HP, not 75%, 75, and then Karma and Seraphine both applied face to keyboard and he went up to 95% in about half a second, I was like, okay, this is probably an unwinnable situation here for this squad. And then sure enough, right after the fact, it was no org jumping in for the punish, making sure they could go in. Hats off to Big there, recognizing that he could jump in and finish the kill on to Tuesday, because that's what made it so they could just march it down mid. But hey, no org. They're this close to walking away with a 3-0 finish against Solafide. Let's go ahead and toss it back to the desk to break it down.
Well, what can I even say? Zyrene, like, you take it away with just the composition that we had from no org. Get into Seraphine again!
Dude, why did they get Seraphine? I am like, oh man, and I swear, like, the first game, it was a big problem. This game, it was even worse. Like, they had even more that they had to deal with. Not just the Seraphine, the Karma on top of it, just the synergy between those two. And we had them pull the solely Moonstone Renewer healing at the end of the game. And Karma did 5,152, and Seraphine did 8,099 healing purely from Moonstone Renewer. You mouse over the item at the end of the game. 8,099 and 5,152. Those numbers should be cut down if you have more Grievous wounds on your team. But even if you do that, which they didn't, that's still insane to have in the game. And I'm just sitting here going, are you really that afraid of Twisted Fate, Set, or Udyr? Like, Udyr was a problem, and I think, Tim, you were saying this at the start of the last game. It was like, he was a problem, but he was not the problem in the game, right? So I thought the draft here from Solafide, great. Their own composition, you know, they're gonna do what they want to do. They can do fasting set and all that. But I'm like, you literally let the other team just draft all the things that they could possibly want in the meta right now to really just bolster this strategy.
Tim, and take it away with this one, because like you talked about the expected mid lane bans, but then it seems like no org came out with the Seraphine well prepared. You'd want to see some adaptation. Was this what you expected? What would you want to see being changed here?
Yeah, I can't say that I specifically expected the Yone from Fire, but I knew that he had a lot of different things he could play. On Tuesday's side, I think it's not very surprising you ban the Orion, and in this case, Azir is so good on this patch, and is such a, like, teams are first picking it, sometimes blue side. So banning the two of those, and you know exactly what he's going to fall back on. He's playing as Victor. If he doesn't play Victor, he's probably going to play Syndra. Then you can draft around that, you can plan around that, and I think, you know, Noorg haven't done a perfect job of playing around that, but they've gotten what they wanted, and they've been more flexible in what they're doing in their comp. And I think Fire, you know, he picked up this Yone. He was a pretty important piece of what they did in the mid and late game. Yeah. And what they did in mid, I think, man, Tuesday has to see if he can pull something else out if he wants to limit this guy.
Well, I don't think it's Tuesday here. I think it's more like, what's Dokla doing? Yeah, like, Dokla in this game multiple times caught out topside, being very greedy, going for really greedy Gnar ultimates, TP plays, trying to get behind the team, dead again. And so I just think it's not Dokla's day right now. It's been, you know, game 2, that was the story of that. But game one, like a lot of Ornn ultimates not hitting multiple people and things like that. And this is a team that's going to focus top side of the map. You saw, even though they had a Karma, they still ganked him in the mid game.
I mean, let's roll the footage because this game was essentially a strategy of if NoOrg can keep themselves alive on the engage versus, you know, if Solafide can get the engage off. This one was beautiful from Dokla.
Yeah,
exactly, this was the one that worked, right? Like, there were other plays that we had. There was one earlier in the game at mid tower that Dokla went in a time, just not a good timing, not a good placement. But this one, like, that was what the comp was intended to be. Go into the big Gnarl, you can layer Victor damage on top of it. I do want to point out that Fivefire did a really good job coming in from the flank and assassinating Tuesday. You know, it didn't make a big difference in the end, but, you know, overall, I think showing that one play is being pretty charitable to Dokla and saying, hey, look what he did there, good job. But pretty much the entire rest of the game was a little not great.
Yeah, because we ended up wanted to see engages like that. And that was a redemption point for him. Because for the majority of the game, it was exactly what Zyrina said, being caught off guard. The first gank the first team fight mid lane 20 minutes in, trying to get that engage, and then that's when NoOrg actually just completely wipes the enemy team. And so I'm starting to feel pretty excited that Solafide can come back into the game. In comes the next team fight. So the next team fight is going to be 24 minutes in. This one has another engage from Dokla. Let's just roll the footage and see. This time around, I want to see you, Tim, take this one away.
Yeah, so this is one around Dragon where Dokla, I think, is leading the play with Winston there. But this is where you can see the Moonstone Renewers coming in. Viper is caught, and like he only goes down to half health after all of that. And in the end, you know, Anda unloads some big burst. They end up killing Winston. Even this, Fivefire lives there too. Those shields, those heals. Oh man, they're riding those item builds to the Moonstone. That's for sure.
This one, you know, this one was a tough one. Seeing if there was anyone there who could follow up in the engage. In this case, it seemed like Olaf was going to be coming in. So I thought that one was an honest try. But at the end of the day, like that's just a lot of healing. It's insane. Even later on in the game, you can see the sustain from Yone being prepared up because he ended up getting lifesteal and shield bow. So then you just can't kill him. At the end of the day, if you don't have enough bursts, you can't take him down. One last fight I want to be able to show, the mid lane team fight, 29 minutes into the game, 29-30. In this case, it felt like this was when NoOrg can just roll them down. I want Zyrene for you to take me and follow this one.
Oh yeah, they use ultimates. They almost kill Yone, and then all of a sudden he's just like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna smack these Raptors a little bit. All right, let's go back to exactly what I was doing just a second ago with full HP. He pops out of nowhere, and then he comes back. It's like, wait, this is deja vu. And this time they don't have ultimates to deal with him. They chunk out Tuesday. Big goes, you know what? I'm gonna go for this. Gets the main damage dealer on the enemy team, because that was the big thing. Is we're looking at a Maokai, Olaf, Gnar. There's not a lot of damage from this team composition. The Senna is the fasting Senna, so Victor's the one who has to do all the damage. So you have to get a good Gnar ultimate into a good Victor ultimate, and if you're able to take out Tuesday, he's basically the only thing on this team that's going to provide that damage to actually wipe a team that has that type of healing. And even at that point, it's still not enough consistent damage. If you have somebody barely get out, they'll come back in with full HP. You got to go for the throat, and you got to kill them every time. But that's not what that comp is made for, right? They can't do that much burst.
I think the fact that that NoOrg were able to sustain out after these big kind of trades and skirmishes back and forth that happened, and if you draw out one or two big ults, like the Maokai ult coming in, or you know even drawing out a cooldown like Victor's W, and then you can just come back at it during those cooldowns. And the fact that they were able to sustain up and just, no, we didn't want to fight at that time. We're going to fight 20 seconds from now, and now we've got the advantage was, I think, a huge deal.
Yeah, so I guess we've talked about it. We've big up the composition because it seemed like NoOrg is really just setting themselves on this path that they're going to, if they keep getting Seraphine, they're going to run it. In fact, if they have an opportunity to double down, because they banned, or at least Solafide banned the Udyr, thinking that the Seraphine would just be one that would be paired really well with that champion. But then they know that, okay, we have Graves. We'll pair that up with a Karma as well. I'm expecting the Seraphine to be banned, Tim. Like that, at this point, it has to be banned. The adaptation has to come through. Before we go into a break, I'm going to ask you, Tim, what would you want to see the adaptation from NoOrg be if that champion doesn't come through? If they don't go for a Seraphine, what do you expect to be the pick from them?
Honestly, I think Noor could go all kinds of different directions. I don't know if I'd lay it down on one thing. I think the fact that you're forcing them to ban Seraphine against you, which they probably should have been doing on this patch from game one anyways, just means that you're basically taking a ban away from them. I don't think Noor have to fall into any single pattern. I think they've shown they can win in different ways. They can play a lot of different styles. They can even play a little bit through bot lane. So I think, they could go whatever direction they want, honestly. Force Solafide to adapt to them.
You align with that, Zyrene?
I just feel like you ban the Seraphine and then you have a lot more options, because I think Five Fire is, hiding a little bit behind that pick, and then the Yone because you got to pinch the champion pool Tuesday, right? So I think if they're able to kind of limit that a little bit more or make him play things that are a bit more gankable, which I think is the big thing that they're kind of looking for. Then they'll have a better time. But right now, there's just a lot of safety in what he's able to do with the range and with the jump back and all that. So.
Okay, very clear what we would want the adaptation to be, and it just seems like Solafide needs to be the team to do it. We are at match point 4, no org. Something needs to change. We're gonna head straight into a break, everybody, and when we'll be back, we get to see that coveted game 3.